In this episode, I am going to create a service which is product service. Before moving into that, I forget to configure dependency injection for the repository manager. So let's add that one first. Okay. It is gonna be under extension folder. Okay, service extension. Let's add another extension method here. Give it a name, public static void configure repository manager, right? This iService collection services. Okay, so services dot add a scoped, not the singleton that we did earlier, right? So the singleton is like we can create the service first time when we get a request, and every subsequent request we will use the same instance, right? But for the add a scope, we can create a service once per request. That means whenever we send an HTTP request to the application, a new instance of the service will be created. So that is the difference. So this will be like every time we send a request, it will be created that instance. For singleton, once we create that instance, that will be there for the entire life cycle of the application. Okay, so that is the major difference. Okay, so now what we are going to do here, type I repository manager and repository manager. Okay, now let's add it in our program.cs class. Builder services dot configure repository manager. That's it. Okay, now let's add our service under services folder. This is gonna be a product service, a class library, let's give it a name like product service. Okay, well, we can rename this class and give it a name I product service. So that is gonna be an interface. Okay, so this product service is gonna be in between domain and repository. Later at some point I will create a service oriented application. That means this product service is gonna be an independent service which is gonna be like microservice, right? So the logging service is gonna be another microservice, and that is gonna be independent. That should not be inside this solution. It's gonna be in a separate solution, and we'll communicate through HTTPS, right? Similarly, the product service and repository service, those can be like separate individual services. So, and in that case, those are gonna be microservices. Well, but in this sample example, I'm not gonna create microservices. So I'm gonna keep all these in one solution, but keeping in some layers. So this is a service layer here. Okay, iProduct service, and we will get the response which is gonna be the product list, right? So product is not available here, so we need to import the project, which is going to be add project reference repository. Okay, control dot. Now we have the namespace available here. Let's say get all products, right? Since it is specific to the products. Okay, then we can use another method, give it a name like get product by ID, and in the ID it's gonna be GUID, and give it a name product ID. Okay, then it is suggesting get product by name. You can create that method as well, but I'm gonna use like add product. It will accept the product type, right, and also return that same product, which is gonna be the product type. For the update, we can also use this one, update. For the delete, we are not gonna return any product, right? We can simply delete the product. Okay, now let's create the implementation class, which is gonna be product service and make it public. Okay, so what do we need? We are dependent on the repository, right? So we have the dependency on repository. Let's review that. We have the dependency on repository, which is fine. We also need logger service to log any issue in the service layer, right? So that's why we also need this service. So let's add that as well. Okay, so now what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna create private read-only I product manager, right? We're gonna use the manager, I product manager. Okay, control dot, oops, sorry, I repository manager. Okay, that is gonna be our repository, TURY. Okay, and then we need logger service, right? Private read-only I logger service. I think that is also a manager, right? Yeah, I logger manager. Okay, we can give the private variable name underscore logger, and then controller, sorry, constructor, CTOR, press tab. So this is gonna be our constructor, and here we can accept the parameter repository, I repository manager, right? Then I logger manager. So since we have multiple line of code, we cannot use that one line code here. So the repository is gonna be repository manager, logger is gonna be logger manager. That's it, right? So this repository is actually our repository manager. So I can actually it is not actually a repository, it is actually repository manager. Let's give the name appropriately. Okay, repository manager. That's good. Now it makes sense. Now let's implement the iProduct service. Then control dot implement interface, remove unnecessary using a statement here. Well, we can start with the easiest one, which is get all products, right? So what we can do, we can use try catch block here, right? And we can say if var products and use repository manager, use the product repository, then get all products, okay, and then return the products. If there is any exception, right, what we can do, we can use the logger and log error. So in the log error, we can format the error message like error in this method, like it is in this method. How we can write it? We can name up, right, name up this product service, right, dot the name of this method. What is the method name? Is gonna be this one, right? So I'm not writing, like I'm not hard coding that entire class name dot get product name, method name, because in case if we rename this method name and class name, it is not gonna be renamed automatically, right? Because it is hard coded. Instead, we can simply use the name up. Okay, so we get the error location, then provide the error details here, which is we can provide message, or we can simply log the entire error message, right? So this is what it is, and we can also throw from here, so that in the controller we can catch that error as well, right? For now I'm throwing here. Okay, so this is like get all products. Now implement the get product by ID. So to get product by ID, what we can do, we can search the product, get product by ID, product ID, right? So then simply return the product. If the product is available, then return it. Pretty simple. Okay, that's good. What about the update? Maybe add product. We can also use the try catch block here, because if something goes wrong, we can log the error. Similarly, you could also use that try catch block in product get product by ID method. Well, since our parameter is already in the product type, so we do not need to map the product, right? So what we can do, we can say new product that is gonna be created in the repository manager, product, add product, the product type, right? Then okay, then what we can do, repository manager, then we have the shape method here. See, the save method is something we are adding after adding the product to the repository, then finally we are saving. So meaning we can also we can also execute some other statements before executing the save statement, right? So that is gonna be unit of work. That's what we are following here. Finally, what we can do, we can return the new product, or if there is an error, we can use similar exception here, but in this case this is under add product method, right? Okay, that's good. Now what we have update and delete method. So update is gonna be we can use the same pattern like exception, then but let's say old product or existing product, not right, equal repository manager product dot get product by ID, because we want to make sure that the product is already existed in our database, right? So if existing product is null, right, then we can throw new exception here, maybe bad request exception or something, right? Bad. Okay, for that we need to implement something, but for now let's say exception that product GUID ID, this one, product GUID, right, is not existed. So that is the exception. So if that is not the case, then what we can do, we can update that existing product with title, right, with description, price, we don't know which is gonna be changing here, actual cost, right, what else, existing product dot quantity. It can also change the product type. Okay, once that is updated here, then what we can do, repository manager dot product update product existing product, right, then repository manager save. Okay, finally return that existing product, or we can also return the product which is gonna be the same, right? Okay, now we can also return, we can also log the error if there is an exception, right, error in delete product, then this is the exception. And for the delete, it's gonna be pretty much similar, right? So try so the error is gonna be, if there is an error, it will log in here. We can say if product to delete get the product ID, right? If product to delete equal null, then throw exception, and this is gonna be pretty much same exception, right? The product is not available, so cannot delete, right? So you can say this is the product ID, product quit. Okay, let's use the same here. If that is not the case, then we can remove the product, delete product. The product is gonna be the product to delete, then save. Okay, let's build it. Will succeeded. If you face any issue, you can see this code base in the GitHub repository. I will post the link in the description, so that will be helpful. Still, if you face issue, please write in the comment box what are the issue you're facing, right, with little bit detail, so that I can reply there. So our service is ready, the product service is ready. Now in the next episode, I will create the controller and I will expose the product API so that we can use the product API from the browser or also from the Postman, right? So it is getting more interesting now, right? I hope you are enjoying this tutorial. If you like this tutorial, please subscribe and hit the like button. Thank you. See you in the next episode. Bye.